all the young mothers and parents who have a toddler who are looking to travel and who've put their life on hold for the unforeseeable future, this podcast episode is just for you.
Everybody wants to travel, but somehow after motherhood that takes a back seat. My 2.5-year-old has already been to 31 countries.
Which are some of the highlights with your baby, countries you've been to with your baby?
With my baby, I would say Guatemala. I hiked a volcano. I went with her to St. Kitts and Nevis, the Caribbean island, stayed at the Marriott Hotel there. Then we went to Zambia. We stayed at the Anantara Resort and Avni Resort. You walk out of your resort and you have giraffes walking.
Yeah, you're shattering a lot of, myths that one can't travel when they have like a little baby.
Right.
And you're doing it so well.
She's so adaptable. She's far more adaptable than any other baby that I've met. Of course, she has her tantrums and meltdowns like every other child. She knows how to mix with people. She's absolutely fearless.
That could also be your Bengali genes. Welcome to the Plush Podcast, Anindita. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
You're glowing. Looks like motherhood is suiting you really well. And
I guess so.
and I must confess that this topic is a bit out of my comfort zone because as a single guy, I'm used to just traveling footloose and fancy free. But you're a mother and you've been traveling despite having a toddler with you, and you do it so well. So we're all here to learn from you.
Thank you so much. Of course, I love traveling, and that's how I've now been to 97 countries.
Wow.
And my 2.5-year-old has already been to 31 countries. So yeah, I know it's quite a feat, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I've been able to do it. And I hope to inspire as many parents out there to do the same.
So all the young mothers and parents who have a toddler who are looking to travel and who've put their life on hold for the unforeseeable future, this podcast episode is just for you.
Yay!
So let's go back to how you started, right? So
Sure.
I believe you were a regular hustling corporate working at one of these multinational companies.
Right.
And you were a CMO for several years. And what inspired you to give that all up and get into creating content?
So I have 17 years of work experience as a marketeer. I'm an engineer and an MBA, and I worked in Unilever and Rent-to-Kill PCI where I was a CMO. And it was great. I mean, I had no issues with my corporate life. It was really nice, and I think I've learned so much stuff over there, which I now carry forward in the Travel Chatter venture. But yeah, the reason I quit my job is because of COVID. So we were supposed to move to New York. So my partner got a job in New York just before COVID. And 2019, I went with him. We finalized our house. And of course, it was just me and him then. And we have 2 dogs. COVID happened and the move, took a standstill. I had already quit my job. And because I knew after that, I'm not going to get a job immediately somewhere because I've just quit. And, everything was very uncertain then. And my husband came back so he could work from home for 2 years. And that's when I realized now that I have quit my job, might as well give Travel Chatter my all. I love traveling. I mean, nothing makes me happier than traveling the world. And given I already had a few brand collaborations, I already had a page out there, I was like, let me give it a shot. And then I got pregnant. And, for a traveler like me, the only time and the best time to have a baby is when you can't travel. And hence, she's a COVID baby.
Right.
And then I realized that, if I don't get back into the corporate life, it gives me more time with her. I'm much more flexible and I can continue traveling. So that's how the shift happened from the corporate life to Travel Chatter.
So Travel Chatter existed even while you were working at your job. And what exactly is Travel Chatter, by the way?
Travel Chatter is my passion and love for travel. And I, like I said, have been traveling since I was a little child, since I was probably 4 years old.
Did your parents encourage that?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think I've got it in my genes. Traveling is there in my genes. I totally got it from my parents. And even they loved exploring the world, exploring the country, exploring the locality wherever we lived in. So I've been doing that since I was very young. And I think thanks to them, today the word cannot doesn't exist in my dictionary anymore. So I'm pretty much confident that the amount I have traveled and the kind of crazy things I've done around the world, there's nothing that I can't do today. And I owe that a lot to the life lessons I've learned from traveling. And yes, when I had a corporate job, even then Travel Chatter existed, but I wasn't very active because obviously a corporate job takes everything that you have. So you really don't have any time for anything else. But of course, since I love traveling so much, that time it wasn't about social media because I wasn't even on Instagram then. And but I would always love taking photos. I love telling stories. And with the advent of social media and Instagram, etc., I realized that why not share my experiences out there and help people? Because if I can travel so much, why can't anybody else over here? And it's not about exotic destinations. Even in Mumbai, I've lived in Mumbai for 15 years, but I'm sure there are so many places in Mumbai I still haven't seen. So
Yes.
it's not about having lots of money or having lots of, resources and contacts. I mean, if you really want to travel, you can travel anywhere. And that's what made Travel Chatter happen, where I'm like, I'm sitting on the treasure trove of experiences and a million stories to tell. So why not inspire all the people out there to live their dream?
And how did your experience working as a corporate help while you were building Travel Chatter?
Well, I think it helped a lot because, in all throughout my corporate life, there's one thing I have realized is the consumer is the key, right? So you have to have very good consumer understanding for any business. And that's how I think today for Travel Chatter, I'm very connected with my followers, and that really helps me a lot. I love it when I meet my followers, and I love all the things that they have to say about Travel Chatter, and it makes me feel so good that if I can even make a difference in one person's life, I think it's a day well lived. It's a
And
life
you have
well lived.
more than 100,000 followers now, so congratulations.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that I understand my consumers, I learn about my followers, I figure out what their pain points are. As a mother, I know exactly right now what their pain points are. Everybody wants to travel. Everybody wants to follow their passion. But somehow after motherhood, that takes a back seat. But
Sure.
here I am trying to enable as many mothers I can to live their dream.
Yeah, you're shattering a lot of, myths that one can't travel when they have like a little baby.
Right.
And you're doing it so well, like I mentioned earlier as well. But this tradition of taking vacations since you were a kid, have you made a conscious decision that now that you're a mother as well, that this is something you want to inculcate in your baby as well?
Oh, absolutely, because I have seen how travel has changed me as a person in every possible way, and I want that exposure for my daughter as well. A lot of people come and tell me now, why are you traveling with her so much? She's only 2.5 and she's been to 31 countries. She don't remember any of this.
Yes.
It doesn't matter because it is going to make her the person that she is going to be tomorrow. It is going to make her personality what it is going to be. It's the exposure that she has to a lot of people, cuisine, places. She is so adaptable. She's far more adaptable than any other baby that I've met. And also in terms of, how social she is. Of course, she has her tantrums and meltdowns like every other child. But having said that, of course, she knows how to mix with people. She's absolutely fearless. When we go to a place and I'm there with 15 other babies, I really see the difference. And I think I owe that a lot to all
That could also be your Bengali genes.
Yes, totally.
But, I remember seeing photos of you when you were, I think, 6 or 7 months pregnant with your belly out.
Yes.
And you were doing some sort of adventure in some exotic part of the world. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was one of the most epic trips I've ever taken. I was 6 months pregnant and it was COVID, and of course I could not travel. And I was telling my partner one day that, what the hell, I have traveled to, that time it was 67 countries. I've been to 67 countries and my baby moon can't be Nasik. We had gone to Nasik for a staycation and I'm like, I
Right.
can't have my baby moon here. I want to travel at least somewhere because obviously after the baby comes, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to travel. Of course, I wanted to, I had all the intentions, but I don't know how much is going to be possible. Luckily, flights opened up and we went to Mexico. So from India, you could take a flight to Mexico via Paris. And I was like, great, I am going. Of course, it took a lot of convincing my parents and my gynecologist. And I got pregnant at 40. So I had a baby really late. But, I was like, so what if I don't have any complications? And if my gynec is ready to, she's allowing me to go, then why not? And I tell everyone out there, only a happy mother raises a happy child. So go ahead and do whatever it takes to keep yourself happy, be it during your pregnancy or even now as a mother. Because only if she sees me follow my dreams, will she grow up to follow her dreams.
Sure.
Of course, that time she was in my tummy, but she was aware of things that are happening around me.
Learning really young.
Absolutely. And I went to 4 countries for 45 days for my baby moon. So I went to Mexico, Aruba, Colombia, and Curacao. I celebrated my 40th birthday in Curacao. But one of the most memorable things that happened in this baby moon is I was swimming in a cenote in Mexico.
What's a cenote?
It's like an underground river. And it's the most famous thing to do to visit in Mexico. You cannot go to Mexico and not swim in the cenote. There are hundreds and hundreds of cenotes in Mexico. And while I was swimming in the cenote is when I felt her first kick.
Oh, wow.
So it was absolutely awesome. And now I can't wait to share these stories with my children and grandchildren if I have them. But yeah, I can't wait to share these stories. I also went floating in a mud volcano in Colombia. It was a 50-feet mud volcano. And
While you were pregnant?
while I was pregnant with that 7-month belly. And everybody was like, we can't believe you're traveling like this. And I'm like, why not? Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean it stops you from doing things you love doing. I mean, pregnancy is a gift and it needs to be celebrated in whatever way you can. And for me, nothing better than traveling. So yeah, made the most of it and hit my 70th country before I had the baby.
Was your partner supportive as well?
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise,
Because that plays a big role as well, your family and your partner being supportive.
Yes, yes. Totally. So he was there with me. Of course, I wasn't traveling solo, but he has a corporate job. So he couldn't take 45 days off. So we did 2 weeks of Mexico, 2 weeks of Colombia. So on the weekdays, from morning to evening, he would be working in the Airbnb or the hotel. And I would be traveling solo everywhere. But at least he was there in the same city. So in case of any emergency, I know he's there. And of course, there are a lot of tips and tricks that I have as to how you can travel when you're pregnant. And
Please share those.
Sure. So few of them. First thing is you have to be in touch with your gynac at all times. Like, do online calls with her or whatever. Whichever country you're going to, map all the hospitals because you never know when there can be an emergency. So map out all the hospitals. Wear really comfortable shoes. That's very important. When you're pregnant, you do get tired very easily. So of course, I would not expect myself to do all the things that I would do when I was not pregnant. But take it easy. Listen to your body. Take a break when your body asks you to take a break. Things like carry a snack wherever you go because you're hungry every 2-3 hours. Believe in yourself. I think half the reason why we don't do things is because we are very fearful. We feel that, we will not be able to do it. So the confidence is lacking. But trust me, once you do it, you come back and you feel like, if I could do this, I can conquer anything in life.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what happens. So while traveling during pregnancy isn't as exotic as it is when you're not pregnant, but again, it's a different phase and you want to enjoy it.
So you're floating in mud baths in Mexico or Colombia. How much more exotic does it get?
I also hiked 10 kilometers on sand dunes to watch the most beautiful sunset of my life in Aruba. And
again, while you were pregnant?
While I was pregnant, yes. So these 4 countries over 45 days was when I was pregnant.
People don't even do that when they're, single or, not without kids. People don't even do that, then, but you did it while you were pregnant.
Absolutely. But having said that, you can't be reckless. You have to be very careful because you're pregnant. And I think as long as you're careful and you know what you're doing, everything is possible.
How soon was it before you started traveling with your baby? After you delivered?
I traveled, I had her in October.
Or did you just catch the next flight out straight from the hospital?
No. I wish, but no. I traveled with her first in December, so she was 2 months old. She was born in October. Okay. But that was a domestic trip. So, I started traveling with her domestic first to see how she's, taken to these places, how, whether she's adaptable. Because a lot of people do tell you that, you cannot travel, she's too young and all that. I'm like, listen, I have traveled when I was pregnant. I traveled to 4 countries while she was in my tummy. And now that she's out, nothing's going to stop me. So, I started with places like Kerala and Goa, which are much more relaxed and easy. Not to have a very hectic, of course you cannot have a hectic schedule when you're traveling with a child. And then I went to Pench. So I did 4 to 5 places in India. And then I figured out that yes, I can travel with her.
But you went to Pench, you said?
Yes, I went to Pench as well. So I think she was the youngest baby. I mean, somebody at the Pench Forest told me this is the first 4-month-old who's on a safari. And we of course also saw tigers. So, she was there. Of course, she didn't know anything then. She was only 4 months, but at least she was there. So for me, I know that, I have taken her and I've done all these great things with her even when she was so young. And my first international trip with her was when she was 6 months old.
Okay, and where did you go?
That was, her first country was the Canary Islands in Spain.
Oh, wow.
And then we went to Andorra, we went to Netherlands. So yeah, it was a 2-week long trip. And the first flight with her. So, when you're traveling with a 6-month-old baby, no matter who you are, what you are petrified about the first flight, given the fact that, flights are the most difficult to take with a baby. And
especially, during those odd hours, right? Because international flights are often, in the middle of the night and you have to feed the baby and whatnot, right?
And this was a 14 or 15 hours flight and my partner was in New York and he was flying from there. It didn't make sense for him to come all the way to India. So we met in Spain and I was like, I'm going to do this all by myself, and I did. And trust me, after I got back from this long trip, I was such a confident mother. Because before that, of course, we all have nannies, right? Of course, I have a 24 hours nanny as well, but I don't travel with her. So, when you're at home, you are dependent on the nannies, and rightly so. I would say everybody, if you can afford to have a nanny, please have a nanny because you need that me time, you need time with your husband, you need to do things with others, and hence you want a nanny to take care of your child when you are at home. But this is the first time I was traveling without the nanny, putting her to sleep, everything A to Z I was doing for her by myself. So I was really nervous. But yeah, it all went well. I think we mothers really underestimate ourselves. I think we have superpowers and we don't even know we have them.
One of the things I'm really stressed about when I'm traveling internationally is not getting stuck to a baby, a woman traveling with a baby, or a family traveling with a little toddler, because I know that I'm not going to be able to sleep. I anyways don't sleep on flights really well. So this is one of my fears. I'm sorry, I just had to say this because I know it's not politically correct, and I've probably been that annoying kid at one point.
Yes.
But I don't think they've got noise cancelling earphones that are like good enough to block out all that noise.
Right.
So I think a lot of single people, when they're traveling, they just don't want to be disturbed. But when you're traveling with your baby, you would have anticipated a few things like, changing nappies, feeding the baby, the regular stuff that you already know about.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you did not account for?
Okay, firstly, talking about flights, I must mention one of the very big tips that I give everyone is flying with a baby till they're 2 is free of cost.
Okay.
So you only pay for taxes. So
Okay.
all the parents out there, before your kid turns 2, please travel the world because international tickets are free. So that's one reason why you'll see a lot of parents traveling with their child till they're 2. And after 2, it's a full fare.
Okay.
So yes, so that's one. And secondly, yes, now again, it is very challenging. While when I wasn't a mother, and if I have booked the first row for myself or I'm in a business class seat, I would definitely not want to sit next to a child. But now I totally empathize with all the mothers out there. It is difficult.
No, I
especially-
empathize and I feel bad, but
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is something
so
that one
then-
has to go through.
Right,
But it just,
so-
sometimes when you're tired, when you're taking a red-eye flight, you're like,
Yeah.
the last thing I need is a
Is
baby crying in
Of
my
course,
ear,
of
right?
course. But a tip out there is next time you see a mother handling a child and not able to console the child, I think all of us out there, and this of course I've learned the hard way, if all of us out there should go and just ask the mother, do you need any help? I'm here to help you. Trust me,
Okay.
she doesn't need help. But that makes a lot of a difference to the mother's mindset.
Yeah.
And most important is the mother needs to stay calm. So usually the baby cries because the mother gets really stressed out. And I
Yeah.
have seen this. The moment I can keep myself calm, now it's easier said than done when you have a cranky baby and you have 100 passengers around you. But, if you are calm, the child will get calm. So if you are stressed out, for example, there are days when I'm trying to put my baby to sleep and I know I have to come for this interview like today. Today I knew I have to leave for an interview and I have to go to Bandra and my baby just won't sleep because she could sense that stress in my body. I mean,
Right.
children really get the vibe. So if you are calm, you will be able to calm the child.
No, and this problem that I have is, like a lot of people do, is just, in the initial stages, right? In the first couple of hours of the flight.
Yeah, of course.
And
no,
then,
rightly so.
it's a cute little baby right next to you and you start
Yeah,
playing with the kid
yeah,
and,
yeah.
it's a beautiful flight after that.
Exactly,
But just
so-
those few hours when you also want to catch your 40 wings,
Absolutely.
that's the
yeah,
stressful
yeah,
part.
Yeah, and rightly so. Like I said, when I was like that, even I was that passenger.
Yeah.
But, and especially, if you are, so for parents out there, like tips for parents, there will be tantrums in the flight, there will be meltdowns, they will cry. So first thing is to remain calm. The next thing is be very patient and have a positive mindset. And the third thing that we don't usually end up doing is ask for help. A lot of us hesitate in asking for help. So for example, if I am the mother and I know I'm not able to pacify my child, I will go and ask the flight attendant for help. I will ask probably the lady next to me who looks like she may want to help. I might ask her for some help. And trust me, people are all there ready to help you, but you need to ask.
Right.
The biggest issue is we don't end up asking because we think we can do it all. And while we are very embarrassed that our child is crying, I think there has to come a phase where mothers have to ignore all the stares and when people look at them, oh, can you not quieten your child? You have to just ignore that because the more you get stressed out about it, the more the child will cry. So you have to just ignore, and when people stare at you, you need to give them that look, you know what? Yes, you were a baby and you did the same to your mother as well. So just ignore those looks and trust me, you will be able to pacify your child. Another tip, when a child cries a lot on the flight, and I have faced this as well, go to the back of the plane. The child usually cries because they're very overstimulated because there are so many people around and they're not able to sleep because of the timing, etc. Take them to the back of the plane, put them in a baby carrier. Now that really helps me. I put her in the baby carrier and I sway her right to the back of the plane. Every time she does end up falling asleep. Why do you have to tell the flight attendant that, I need to be here because I need to quieten my child, otherwise all the other passengers out there are getting disturbed. And they are okay with it. So this
Or
is
maybe
always
just
worked
bump
for
me up to first class
Yeah,
where there's no one,
absolutely, yes.
right?
Of course. But yeah, like I said, as a mother, even now, if I'm flying economy, it's okay because there are so many people and, the cries kind of drowned out. You can't like hear it as much. But in business class, everybody is sleeping and then the cries are like, really, really loud. So that's when I'll probably take her to the back of the plane and do what I have to. But yes, people will stare. You will be embarrassed, but there has to come a time where mothers actually get over all that and focus on the baby and stay calm, and things are much better. And as far as for people like you, I would say please carry noise cancellation headphones and sleep.
Yeah, but so these are some of the challenges that you already know are going to happen. You will anticipate these problems: a child crying, feeding the baby, like I mentioned earlier, and perhaps changing nappies, bathroom accidents. But what are some of the things that you haven't anticipated while you've been on one of your trips?
I would say the meltdowns. So at this age, babies like kids are very, very unpredictable. They can be in a very good mood in the morning and in 2 hours they are crying and you just don't know how to pacify them. And of course, we are also learning. As mothers, it's the first time, so we are also learning how to handle these tantrums and the meltdown. Now, obviously, when you are traveling, the kid is jet lagged. So first 2 days, you have to be really kind to yourself. We parents are very hard on ourselves. We feel that when the child is crying, it's my fault because the child is crying. I can't pacify my child. I'm a bad mother. We need to stop telling all that to ourselves. What you tell yourself makes a lot of a difference. So that's one thing that needs to change. That entire narrative has to change. And there were times where, she's jet lagged, we've gone to a new country, and first 2-3 days is always tough. So I was right now for 40 days in New York and Canada, in US and Canada, and first 3-4 days because of the jet lag, she doesn't eat, and I'll be telling my partner, if she doesn't eat for the next day, I'm going back to India, because we are petrified, we kind of fret no matter how confident we can appear to be, but then you just have to give yourself time and things fall in place. So yes, the jet lag is one of my biggest issues. The tantrums and meltdown, which are the most during the jet lag. But I guess now I have all the tips to get over it, and I have reels that I've done on my Instagram on Travel Chatter where I've actually.
So no short trips and no like quick getaways for like 5 days to Thailand, because it takes you 2 or 3 days to get used to.
Exactly. So one of my tips in terms of traveling with a child or traveling when you're pregnant is first take the short trips. So you don't start with a 1 week or a 2 weeks long trip. Take a 5 day trip, and that is why I started traveling with my daughter Kiara to. I started traveling domestic, where I went to cities close by to Mumbai and got her used to traveling, and then I started traveling internationally.
No, but if you travel internationally for like 3 days, 4 days with your baby,
right,
it's going to be hard on the baby because it takes them a couple of days to get used to overcome the jet lag.
But see, that depends. Again, if you're in Dubai or Thailand, there's actually no jet lag. So that's fine. So you go to a country close by and then you see how the baby is actually adapting to the changes, to the culture, to the time zone, to everything around her or him, and then take the longer trips. So I would always recommend first take the shorter trip to see how they are doing and then plan.
Perhaps even domestically as well.
Yes, but also you have to plan your trips around your baby. So you can't, so for example, earlier when I used to travel without her, I would have a very hectic schedule. I would have 9 to 10 things to do in a day. But now probably I have 4 or 5, and there are certain days I can't even tick off those 4 or 5 places. But there are days I'm like, oh, I'm really upset. I could not do these 4 or 5 places. It's okay. I still
Is it because you're tired or is your baby tired?
No, because everything is slow. You are doing everything slowly, like I tell everyone, rent a car when you're traveling, because then you can have all your baby supplies in the car and you can do everything in your own pace, because the baby wants to sleep, and that time probably if you've planned a particular place to go sightseeing, you can't do that because your baby is asleep. She wants her afternoon nap. So then you have to slow down and go and sit at a restaurant where the baby can sleep, the baby is not overstimulated. So you have to have all that as well in your planning process to ensure that the baby is not overstimulated and the baby is sleepy. So all the planning has to be around the baby's schedule.
Right.
Even in terms of flights, like you were mentioning, I would always say take flights which sync with your baby's nap times. So if I know my baby sleeps around 8:30, 9 p.m., I would try and take a flight around that time, or maybe 11 p.m. and not 3 a.m. because I know if I take the flight, then she'll just sleep. And I've had flights, 14 hours flights, where she slept for 7 hours. So yeah, it's all about planning in the right way.
I'm like an overgrown baby here as well, because I don't like red-eye flights, right? And maybe because I'm tall and it's hard to sleep on a seat.
Yeah.
So even if it's, let's say, a Bombay-London flight, I prefer the afternoon flight so I can enjoy the flight, and I get in at a decent hour at maybe 6:30, 7 p.m. UK, local time, versus taking that red-eye flight and I haven't slept and I'm cranky the next day.
Right.
So this advice would also apply to adults, not just kids.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But at times you have to take the red-eye flight, given
Yeah.
that the others are very expensive.
Of course.
So again, I again give a lot of travel tips on, how do I manage to travel to so many countries? So how do you travel in a budget? When to take flights? What kind of flights to take, etc. So at times you just have to take the red-eye flight because you don't want to spend so much money in taking the other one. Yeah.
But traveling on a budget with a kid would probably also mean taking multiple flights, right? So you can
Not
get to
really.
the destination. It may take you longer, but it's also a cheaper ticket.
Exactly, but with babies again, it's always better to take a non-stop flight.
Yeah.
Because you're just there sooner than taking a layover and then again getting onto another flight. So non-stop flights do tend to be more expensive, but then there are things like you plan well in advance. So for me, even when I didn't have a baby, how would I manage to travel so much? Not that I'm this millionaire and lots of money and I travel everywhere. No, it's all about planning it right. So from at the beginning of the year, I know exactly where I'm going, which month. So if I'm going to 6 to 7 countries, I have it booked. My tickets are booked at the beginning of the year.
But not all flights are direct flights, right? So for example, if you go to Spain,
Yeah.
we don't have a direct flight to Spain
Right.
yet.
Yeah, of course. So I'm saying whenever you can take a direct flight,
And
otherwise
if you're
you
traveling
take the one with the
to,
layover.
97 odd countries,
Yeah.
probably a handful would have direct flights.
Exactly.
More so now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then a lot of them would have been, routed through other destinations with a stopover.
So when I didn't have a baby, I would always take the one with the stopover because firstly it would be cheaper. And second is I would get to see another country. So I would extend the layover. If it was an 8 hours layover, I would probably take a 2 days layover and kind of see the city where I'm landing. So I would also do that because one thing is it works out cheaper and the other is I get to see another place. But yes, with a baby, I definitely prefer non-stop flights now.
Which are some of the top countries you've been to in the last couple of years? You mentioned 30 odd countries with your baby.
After she was born, yeah.
So tell us something about the countries you've been to and any out of the box experiences there.
Loads of them. With my baby, I would say one of my most memorable trip was to Guatemala. I hiked a volcano with her.
And
in
that is a long
Guatemala.
flight.
No, we went via New York. So we were
Okay.
in New York for 2 weeks and then we flew to Guatemala. So New York to Guatemala is not that long. a
4-5
flight.
hours?
Yeah, 4-5 hours, which
Okay.
isn't long anymore for me because I've
Right.
taken longer flights. But I hiked a volcano and I think that was something that I was super proud of because when you're in Guatemala, you cannot not hike a volcano. Yeah, it's like the most popular thing to do. And given I have a baby and my partner was working and I was like, can I do this by myself? Of course, my partner pushed me and he's like, of course, there's nothing you can't do and you can definitely do this. So I got my baby carried out, put my daughter in, and we actually hiked the volcano. And when we were on top, I was like, wow, have I seriously done this with a 2-year-old? Like I've hiked a volcano. So that definitely is one of my favorite trips with her. Then recently I went with her to St. Kitts and Nevis, the Caribbean island, and it was amazing. So at times with your baby, you just want to plan staycations. We went and stayed at the Marriott Hotel there. And it was sheer bliss. We would do nothing for 2 days but just laze on the beach, dance, and just me and my baby playing around, dance, jumping on the waves. And it was awesome because at times now what your baby at this age needs is the connection.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to always be a hectic itinerary or overpacked schedule. At times just doing nothing is also bliss. And not just with the baby, this is also without a baby. I think when you travel, you should always take out certain days where you want to just soak in the place and not do anything. And again, talking about my favorite trips, I cannot not mention my glacier trek to Argentina. I think you've been there too, right? The Perito Moreno Glacier.
Yes, I hiked that glacier as well.
I love it. I think that was one of my best trips because I went for a 45 days trip to South America solo. I did Peru, Bolivia, the Amazon forest, Brazil, and Argentina. And when I hiked that Perito Moreno Glacier solo, I was like, oh my God, how beautiful is this world?
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
loved that place.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of
Did you do the long trek or the shorter trek?
I did the 1.5 hours trek.
That's the shorter trek,
Shorter
yeah.
one,
I
yeah.
did
You
that
did the
one
long
as well.
one? Uh-huh.
Well, my story was different because I was on my way to Ushuaia in Argentina. That's arguably the
Yeah.
southernmost city.
Did you go to Antarctica?
Yes.
Okay.
And my flight I was flying British Airways and my flight was delayed because there was perhaps half an inch of snow or a quarter of an inch of snow at Heathrow Airport. So all the flights were diverted. And I was super stressed because I had bookings at this, bed and breakfast in Calafate,
Right.
which is where
Yeah.
you have to stay if you're going to the glacier.
Right.
And everything was delayed. I had a cruise to catch, right? So everything was delayed by a day,
Oh,
and this
damn.
was so I would have liked to spend more time there. But I literally reached the same morning that I went on that hike. So after that long flight
Oh,
to
no,
Buenos
that's
Aires, and then
crazy.
from there to Calafate, which is again another like 2.5, 3 hours.
Right.
I reached in the morning and just changed and took a short, I think like a couple of hours nap after like a long flight, and then just went on a hike. So ideally, that's not how I would have liked to do it,
Right.
but I didn't have a choice. But
Yeah.
absolutely one of the best trips, and
So-
such a beautiful sight to see.
Right. So that, and I've gone to Ukraine, and I've gone to walked in underground bunkers in Ukraine. Unfortunately, it's so unfortunate what's happening in Ukraine now.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my top 10 countries. It
Wow.
was so beautiful.
What about it did you like?
Everything. I mean, so there's a city there called Lviv, which has the most unique cafes I've ever seen in my life. Amazing crowd, amazing vibe, and that time we didn't have kids, so my husband and I were just partying, and it was so nice. Very, very pretty place. And of course, Chernobyl. We went to Chernobyl as
Oh.
well, and we went. I mean, it was really nice. I can't explain how awesome Ukraine was. And just 2 months later, I think the war broke out, and it was absolutely crazy. But yeah, other trips would be I have I've gone in Portugal. I rode a scooty solo pretty much along the Algarve coastline. I went to Russia solo, where I could not understand anyone's language, what anyone was speaking, even what's written there everywhere in the metro stations, etc., all in Russian, and you can't follow a
Which
thing.
are some of the highlights with your baby? Countries you've been to with your baby?
Okay, so without my baby, I have to also mention this. I went to Uganda and I went for the gorilla trek. Oh my God, that was again out of this world. Like, if you're really lucky, you go right onto the mountaintop and you see one gorilla. We saw 7 gorillas, and I had a baby gorilla that came right up to my shoes and played with my shoelaces.
Oh.
So it was epic. I mean, that Uganda trip where I went for the gorilla trek was one of the reasons why I started Travel Chatter. So since you asked me why I started, I remember when we were driving back from Rwanda to our hotel, that's when I wrote my first Travel Chatter blog, which is on this gorilla trek. So again, these adventures are so close to my heart. So
That's what inspired you to start a travel blog in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, and I'm into scuba diving. I'm a certified scuba diver. So I've gone scuba diving to Malta and Cyprus and Maldives.
Maldives,
and
of course. I saw your Maldives video, scuba diving with sharks.
Right,
And I reached out to you immediately that this is something that I have to do. And I think it was
Yeah.
just as COVID was receding.
Yes,
And I was like,
yes.
this is something that's on my bucket list as well. And if
I'm
she can
so
do it,
glad
I
you
can
did
do it.
it.
So you're not just inspiring young mothers, you're inspiring the fully grown men as well.
Yay, I'm so happy.
Yeah. But, clearly you have a thing for adventure.
Right.
And now that you have a baby, and you mentioned you've been to a volcano, was that with the baby or without the baby?
With.
Yeah. But are there certain responsibilities and safety concerns as a mother that you feel that is it slowing you down at all in some ways? For example, you can't go
Oh,
scuba
yes.
diving.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't. So I think adventure has now taken a back seat. I think the new adventure in my life is traveling with the baby. That
Right.
itself is an adventure by itself.
That's an adventure sport by
That's
itself.
an adventure sport by itself. I mean, far more adventurous than scuba diving and skydiving, trust me. And but I love it. And I love the fact that even if life has kind of slowed down, I think it's just a phase till she's probably a few years older, and then how kids are, they don't need their parents anymore.
Right.
I hope that day doesn't come too soon, but yeah. So, I'm absolutely okay to embrace slow travel right now. Of course, adventure sports have taken a back
And
seat.
you can enjoy different forms of travel, right? Like you're rightly saying. So perhaps there's a phase where you enjoy adventure, but you can equally also enjoy slow travel and other forms of
Exactly,
travel where you're just
exactly.
soaking it all in.
Right.
Maybe sometimes you just want to enjoy nice hotels and go to
Yeah,
places that have nice
yeah,
hotels,
yeah.
right?
So I can't probably do scuba diving and skydiving when I'm with her. I can do it when my partner is with me. I mean, he can take care of her and I can do scuba diving, and then I take care of her and he does. But all that takes a lot of time
Right.
because we're doing it separately and not together. But I have done things like, I remember last year for my birthday, I was in Belize, which is again a Caribbean island. And sorry, it's a country, it's not an island. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
just an island. You go to the islands in Belize. So I went to this
Isn't that where they
place-
have that blue hole?
Yes, so that's exactly what I was coming to. I took the helicopter and I went over the blue hole, and it was so nice. I was right next to the pilot. My baby wasn't with me. She was with my
Can
husband.
you go scuba diving in there?
You can, but I didn't do that because that would take really long. It's almost a 4 or 5 hours boat ride to even go to the Blue Hole.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So the helicopter ride is much shorter. It's just a 20 minutes ride, I think. And
Right.
it was epic. Like even seeing it from up above was so good. And another trip, when you ask me what was one of the best trips with my baby, I would say I recently went to Zambia. Now, Africa is so beautiful. A lot of us spend so much money going to Europe and US, etc. But Africa, I feel, has everything. And at this age, all babies love animals. So in Zambia, we stayed at the Anantara Resort and Avni Resort just next to Victoria Falls. And it was so good. You walk out of your resort and you have giraffes walking right in front of you. You have zebras and everything. Like it's like you're staying inside a jungle. It's as good as that. And we took this skylight ride, which is like you're like kind of paragliding over the Victoria Falls. You know, you're in it's not a helicopter exactly. It is a Batoka skylight. So you'd have to Google that. But it was epic. Like, you know, from up above, you see Victoria Falls and it is absolutely gorgeous. You see all the animals. I saw like hundreds of hippos dipped in water and great. So I'm saying even with a baby, you can do all this as long as you plan it well.
Right. And how did your baby, what was it like for your baby?
These things?
All these things.
Great. I mean, she loves it. I think she's growing up to be even more adventurous than me. I mean, again,
Right.
like I said, it's in her genes. So she's always very excited whenever we are trying something new. Now, the thing is, when you're traveling with a baby, we always feel, you know, what's the point telling them anything they won't understand? That is so not true. You have to keep them engaged in everything that they're doing, in terms of what they're eating, in what terms of what their day is going to be like, what is the next adventure activity that I'm going to do. Everything, once they know, I always feel their acceptance level is a lot higher than what it is otherwise. And also things like, you know, whenever you're traveling with a baby, you have to carry high value toys. So this is again another travel hack where while you have a lot of toys for them at home, but there are few toys you don't expose them to at home and you keep them only for travels. I have a cupboard where I have toys only for travel. So I'll take them out during the flights or during these trips.
What kind of toys are these and what makes them different from some of the other toys?
No, it could be anything. It's just something that she's not used to seeing. She's not bored of. It could be something as simple as a spinner, or it could be like magnetiles, you know, or Lego pieces, whatever. But things that she doesn't usually do on a daily basis. So high value toys is definitely a great way to keep the baby engaged while you want to indulge in the adventure activities and everything else.
So they're busy, they're occupied, they're, you know,
Exactly.
trying to solve those puzzles or just play with their toys.
And I'm absolutely against screen time. She's 2.5 years and she has had zero screen time so far. Of course, now I've kind of started giving her screen time, but the reason I've managed zero screen time and traveling solo with her to so many countries is because I give a lot of these, I know by now a lot of hacks about how to keep her engaged, what to do when we land in a country and things like that.
So if you were, let's say, spending a week in Zambia, for example, right, before you had your baby, if you had planned it for about a week, would you say you have to extend your trip by 3 or 4 days to accommodate all the things you want to do because you're traveling with a baby?
Absolutely, yes.
And
Because
it's a
like
bit
I
slower?
said, it is all about embracing slow travel, and it's about not getting overtly upset. Arey, mere list mein ye tha, ye nahi hua. No, I mean, whatever you could do, just be happy with it. It just gives you more reasons to come back to the country.
Whatever you are doing is a big bonus anyway because most people can't even do that.
Absolutely. So the fact that I can't go scuba diving, I went to Bahamas for her first birthday, and Bahamas is amazing for scuba diving, right? And I couldn't do scuba diving. I'm like, I have to come back to Bahamas again. But it's about what you tell yourself. So I would tell myself that she's going to be a scuba diver as well. I'm sure she'll be a certified diver, and both of us can come back diving to Bahamas maybe 10 years later. So things like that. So there are a few things that you cannot do, but I guess it's all about focusing on things that you can do and the kind of connection you are building with your kid now, because the bonding is incredible when you're traveling.
So, you know, there are a lot of parents or a lot of, you know, our parents' age perhaps, where traveling is not the norm. Not everyone has been encouraged to travel from a young age, right?
Yeah.
People have had different lives. How important is the role of your family, and not just your partner, but also your parents and your dear friends around you, your support system?
Right.
How important is it to have the right support system, and what kind of support system has worked for you?
In terms of after having a baby, after becoming a mother, of course, support system is very, very important. Like I said, when I have spent 40 days traveling with my baby outside the country, when I come back, I need nobody but the nanny. You know, so for example, this time when I was coming back and my husband, he was still in New York and we were coming back, and he was like, please stay for a few more days. I told him, trust me, right now I need the nanny much more than I need you. So I'm going back. And he's an absolute equal partner. He will equal parent. He will do everything. Like there's nothing that my husband doesn't do which I do for my baby except breastfeeding. That's probably the only thing I do. But everything else, he's an equal partner. But even then, you want to come back and you need that good support system where, you can take a break and give the baby to the nanny where you need to rest as well. So it's very, very important. I don't think as mothers we should shy away from taking help. Be it from your in-laws, be it from your parents, be it from your friends, or be it from a nanny.
I'd give kudos to your partner as well, because a lot of women perhaps feel a bit constrained by societal norms. Not every partner is an equal partner. There are certain expectations in terms of what a woman should be doing and not be doing, and a woman's role in a household. So I would give a lot of props to your partner as well for being understanding and appreciating your love for travel, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky that he loves traveling as much as I do.
That obviously helps.
Yeah, exactly. And I got lucky there for sure. But yes, this is very important. So, which is why, understand your partner very well before you decide to get married.
Choosing your partner well to begin with, right? So, a lot of people, they value material things over experiences.
Right.
And you have to find someone who values this, the same things that you do.
Exactly.
Which is not to say that you don't like nice things as well.
Right.
Or don't like dressing up or buying a nice,
it's
whatever.
all about balancing it out. I mean, whatever makes you happy. There are days, of course, I would probably want to go for a vacation and stay in this super exotic hotel. And there are days I'm okay to stay in an Airbnb or even a hostel and travel and see the place. So, it's
especially
about
as a single
yourself.
person, I think
a hostel is great.
A hostel is great because, if you stay in some of the nicer hostels in Europe or in the US, in the West basically, and I haven't been to hostels in Vietnam or Thailand yet, so I can't speak for those. But if you get a private room there, it's just a bit lower priced than like a 3-star, 4-star hotel.
Right.
So it's like staying in a 3-star hotel, but you're meeting so many people who are in the same shoes as you are. Right?
And it's the vibe. I think
the vibe.
it's so happening, and every night is like a party down to the reception. It's amazing.
Any safety concerns for you or security concerns for you when you were single and you were traveling solo? Any security concerns of staying in hostels? Because that's another thing which I know a lot of women, they're like, I can't do this because I need someone to travel with. I can't travel alone. And I wouldn't feel safe staying in a hostel because the idea of a hostel, at least here, it conjures up different kind of images in terms of
absolutely.
So
not just when I was traveling solo, even now as a mother, I think what's very important when you travel as a solo traveler, like even with my baby, I'm traveling solo, it's about reading the reviews really well. So it could be the best hostel in the country, but you still need to read the reviews. You need to probably talk to the people at the reception and email them before you go. What are the kind of hostel it is? What is the kind of hostel it is? What are the kind of things that you can do, etc. And one thing that I personally do is I talk to a lot of locals. So even when I'm traveling, it could be my Uber driver, it could be the server at the restaurant, it could be my Airbnb host, or like I said, the guy at the reception. I will ensure I talk to everyone and figure out what are the places I should go to and I should not because I'm traveling solo. Now, no matter which country you go to, even our own country has a lot of places where you should not go. They are pretty infamous. So you just have to stay away from those. But I think overall media paints certain countries to be a lot more dangerous than they really are.
Absolutely.
So when I went to South America for 45 days, my parents were freaking out. Argentina and Brazil, they're not supposed to be the safe places for solo travelers. But I was absolutely fine. Did I take precautions? Of course I did. I did a lot of research of where I stay. I ensured that I stay not in isolated places. I ensured that all the sightseeing places are around. I'm close to public transport. I don't stay out till late and party because again, some countries are not very safe. So I would ensure I do all of that. But then if you take all these precautions and you've done your research well, you can go anywhere and everywhere, of course.
And I would actually argue that some of these hostels are very safe and you would prefer to stay in hostels because they are travelers from around the world who are also exploring the world just like you are.
Right.
And you make some unforgettable connections as well.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I've had some very memorable experiences there as well.
You inspire so many women with your Instagram page. What aspect of your content really connects with them?
I think it's about being really authentic, being myself. That's something that I always am. So, if I am out with my daughter and I haven't gone out for dinner where I haven't been able to dress up, it's okay. I want to show them the real picture. if I've gone out somewhere with my daughter and she's had a tantrum, I don't want to just tell them how amazing it is to travel with a 2-year-old. Of course, there are challenges. So it's all about talking about that and being real. So I remember doing a post on one flight, particularly one flight, which is a very, very difficult flight with my daughter. That's because I wasn't well rested. So the night before the flight, I just left for 4 hours. And it is so important for the mother to be well rested because you might not get to sleep at all for those 8-9 hours that you're traveling in the flight, and you have to take care of the baby. And there are a few things I did, like, the toys bag that I carry by mistake, I checked it in, and a few other stuff. So, in hindsight, there are a lot of things I could have done differently by which the flight would not have been so painful. So, and I talk about that openly. I had an entire post about, okay, this is what I could have done differently.
Where you feel you screwed up and you could have done better, which is natural.
Exactly. Right? Then recently I did a post on me using a breast pump in the flight. So I'm still feeding her. She's 2.5 years and I'm still nursing. So recently I took a flight where I was pumping in the flight. Now, again, that's a big taboo, right? People are like, oh, she's pumping in the flight and things like that. But I did a post on that. I took a picture of me pumping. And I put up a post and I wrote to them, if you have to pump in public, this is what you do. These are the things you do and these are the precautions you take. And that was very well received by everyone. Then I remember a few years back, or maybe a year back, I spoke about my divorce. So I am divorced. This is my second marriage. So, I spoke about the fact that why is divorce such a big topic and why is it something that we don't talk about openly. So I spoke about all the things that I have learned from my previous marriage. And again, that post pretty much went viral. So it's all about, like I said, being authentic and not just showing your audience how awesome your life is. No,
which is what Instagram can be.
Exactly.
Often.
While, yes, I travel so much and, it looks like I have an awesome life because I'm living the life of my dreams.
Yeah.
But currently, I am big time battling grief because I just lost my dad. I lost my dad a year back, and I'm also talking about that few days, I just want to cry. No reason, but I lost my dad, he was only 73. And it's very challenging trying to be happy because you're raising a child and you don't want to, pass on those vibes to your child. You don't want to pass on your stress to your child. So, but it's difficult because I have lost my dad, and I talk about that on Instagram as well.
And it was sudden, I believe.
Very sudden. He was just 73 and he had absolutely no symptoms of anything. So it was very, very sudden. And it's been a very difficult, I think last 1 year, while I have enjoyed motherhood a lot, but it's been the worst 1 year of my life. So when I did usually the New Year post, everybody does a New Year post on 31st December and they're like, oh, awesome year and this achievement and that achievement, blah, blah. So I remember last year, while yes, I have had a lot of achievements, but those achievements didn't matter because I have had such a big loss that no matter what I achieved that year didn't make any damn difference to my life. So all I spoke about is the fact that how last year was the worst year of my life and a piece of my heart is broken which will never be repaired.
Yeah, and it's life-changing, and even travel can't be that soothing balm.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, it's all about being real, and that's how my followers really, really connect with me. And that's what I want for Travel Chatter.
So Anindita, what's next for Travel Chatter? You built this awesome community on Instagram. You've got a nice blog. You are someone who is very well educated and has an MBA and also has spent close to 2 decades with the corporate world. Mm-hmm. How do you see Travel Chatter shaping up in the years to come?
See, right now, I think I'm taking everything very slow. Like I said, because I lost my dad, I think my enthusiasm has kind of gone down. But in the long run, I think I want Travel Chatter to be the go-to resource for traveling tips, for breastfeeding while traveling, for managing motherhood on the go. So I want people to look at Travel Chatter like, okay, I have an issue where it comes to anything to do with travel, I need to look up to Travel Chatter or just figure out how to do things from her. And which is why I ensure that right now, whatever DMs I get, and it's very heartwarming, the kind of DMs I get from all my followers in terms of how I've changed their lives and how somebody's battling depression and, how my posts have helped, etc. And that I think is making a true difference, like making a big, big difference in their lives. And that's what I wish for Travel Chatter. So, rather than being the most famous travel influencer in the country or in the world or having millions of followers, even if I have less number of followers, but I can impact their lives in a positive way, that's what I wish.
Which is what you're doing. And perhaps that helps you heal as well.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So where can someone find you if they want to reach out to you? I know you have a famous Instagram page. Is it Travel Chatter?
Yes, it's called travel.chatter on Instagram. I also have a website called travel.chatter where I have my blogs. But yes, right now my main platform, I also am on YouTube, but then I'm most active on Instagram.
And Chatter, is that a play on words because your last name is Chatterjee?
Yes, it is. So travel chatter because I love chattering about travel, and also because my last name is Chatterjee. So that's how travel chatter happened.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Anindita. This was
you.
absolutely a pleasure. And once again, you're glowing and you seem so happy. I know you're masking a lot of grief, and I empathize. But I think you're doing wonderfully well. And
Thank you so much.
look forward to seeing more of your travels on Instagram, and keep inspiring people.
Thank you so much. Absolutely an honor being here, and thank you so much.
Okay.